We've all been there, waiting for something we deeply desire, hoping for a breakthrough, praying for an opportunity, believing for a change, yet despite all our efforts, nothing seems to be happening. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and before long, doubt starts creeping in. Maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe I should just move on. But just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. A delay is not a denial. Think about when you order a package online. The moment you confirm your purchase, it's already on the way. You might not see it yet. It might not have arrived at your doorstep, but it's already been processed. It's already moving. And just because it's not in your hands at this very moment doesn't mean it's not coming. You don't cancel the order just because it's taking longer than expected. You trust the process. That's how life works. The moment you believe for something, the moment you step out in faith and take action, the process begins. You may not see movement right away, but things are shifting behind the scenes. God is aligning the right people, working out the details, and preparing you for what's ahead. But if we're not careful, we'll mistake the wait for rejection. We'll assume that because it's taking longer than we expected, it must not be for us. Imagine a farmer planting seeds in his field. He doesn't go out the next morning expecting to see fully grown crops. He understands that growth takes time. There's a process involved: watering, nurturing, waiting. If the farmer doesn't see a sprout after a few days, he doesn't dig up the seed and throw it away. He doesn't say, well, I guess it's not working. No, he keeps tending to the field because he knows the harvest is coming. The only way he won't see a harvest is if he stops believing, stops watering, stops waiting. The same principle applies to our lives. Some things take longer than we expect because they need time to develop. Just like a baby in the womb needs 9 months to fully form, your dreams, your breakthroughs, and your answered prayers need time to mature. If they come too soon, they won't be ready, and neither will you. Some delays are for your own protection. If you received everything you asked for exactly when you wanted it, you might not be prepared to handle it. Think about how many times in life you've wanted something only to look back years later and realize that the timing wasn't right. Maybe it was a job you thought was perfect, but now you see it wouldn't have been the best fit. Maybe it was a relationship you wanted to work, but in hindsight, you're grateful it didn't. Sometimes what looks like a setback is really a setup for something better. There's a story of a man who was stranded on a deserted island after his boat crashed. He prayed every day for rescue, hoping someone would find him. He built a small hut to shelter himself and gathered food to survive. But one day, while he was out searching for food, he saw smoke rising into the sky. His hut had caught fire. Everything he had worked for, everything he had built was gone in an instant. He was devastated. He thought, why, God? Why would you allow this to happen? He felt abandoned, forgotten. But later that evening, he saw a ship approaching the island. The captain told him, we saw your smoke signal and came to find you. What the man thought was his greatest disaster was actually the very thing that saved him. What looked like a setback was really a setup. Had his hut not burned down, he would have remained stuck on that island. And so often we go through situations where it seems like everything is falling apart. We assume that because something is delayed, it means it's denied. But what if the very thing you see as a disappointment is actually your greatest blessing in disguise? Maybe that closed door was protecting you from something you couldn't see. Maybe that delay is making room for something better. Maybe what you think is an unanswered prayer is really a not yet instead of a no. If we could see the full picture, we wouldn't be so quick to give up. The key is to trust the process. Don't let time convince you that it's not going to happen. Just because it's been months or years doesn't mean your moment isn't coming. Your story is still being written. The chapter you're in right now is just one part of a bigger picture. The people who succeed, the people who see their dreams come to pass, are the ones who don't give up in the waiting season. They keep believing, they keep preparing, they keep expecting. Even when it looks like nothing is happening, You have to hold on to the promise that what you're believing for is already in motion. It's already on the way. You may not see it yet, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. Just like that package in the mail, just like the seed in the ground, just like the ship that was on its way to rescue the stranded man, what you've been praying for is making its way to you. The only thing that can stop it is if you lose faith and give up too soon. So don't be discouraged by delays. Don't let waiting make you think it's not happening. What you've been believing for is still possible. Is still ahead of you. You just have to keep going, keep trusting, keep standing firm in faith. Because one day when you least expect it, you'll look up and you'll see the answer right in front of you. And you'll realize it was never a denial. It was just a matter of time. We've all been there, waiting for something we deeply desire, hoping for a breakthrough, praying for an opportunity, believing for a change. Yet despite all our efforts, nothing seems to be happening. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and before long, doubt starts creeping in. Maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe I heard wrong. Maybe I should just move on. But just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. A delay is not a denial. Think about when you order a package online. The moment you confirm your purchase, it's already on the way. You might not see it yet, it might not have arrived at your doorstep, but it's already been processed, it's already moving. And just because it's not in your hands at this very moment doesn't mean it's not coming. You don't cancel the order just because it's taking longer than expected. You trust the process. That's how life works. The moment you believe for something, the moment you step out in faith and take action, the process begins. You may not see movement right away, but things are shifting behind the scenes. God is aligning the right people, working out the details, and preparing you for what's ahead. But if we're not careful, we'll mistake the wait for rejection. We'll assume that because it's taking longer than we expected, it must not be for us. Imagine a farmer planting seeds in his field. He doesn't go out the next morning expecting to see fully grown crops. He understands that growth takes time. There's a process involved. Watering, nurturing, waiting. If the farmer doesn't see a sprout after a few days, he doesn't dig up the seed and throw it away. He doesn't say, well, I guess it's not working. No, he keeps tending to the field because he knows the harvest is coming. The only way he won't see a harvest is if he stops believing, stops watering, stops waiting. The same principle applies to our lives. Some things take longer than we expect because they need time to develop. Just like a baby in the womb needs 9 months to fully form, your dreams, your breakthroughs, and your answered prayers need time to mature. If they come too soon, they won't be ready, and neither will you. Some delays are for your own protection. If you received everything you asked for exactly when you wanted it, you might not be prepared to handle it. Think about how many times in life you've wanted something only to look back years later and realize that the timing wasn't right. Maybe it was a job you thought was perfect, but now you see it wouldn't have been the best fit. Maybe it was a relationship you wanted to work, but in hindsight, you're grateful it didn't. Sometimes what looks like a setback is really a setup for something better. There's a story of a man who was stranded on a deserted island after his boat crashed. He prayed every day for rescue, hoping someone would find him. He built a small hut to shelter himself and gathered food to survive. But one day, while he was out searching for food, he saw smoke rising into the sky. His hut had caught fire. Everything he had worked for, everything he had built was gone in an instant. He was devastated. He thought, why, God? Why would you allow this to happen? He felt abandoned, forgotten. But later that evening, he saw a ship approaching the island. The captain told him, we saw your smoke signal and came to find you. What the man thought was his greatest disaster was actually the very thing that saved him. What looked like a setback was really a setup. Had his hut not burned down, he would have remained stuck on that island. And so often, we go through situations where it seems like everything is falling apart. We assume that because something is delayed, it means it's denied. But what if the very thing you see as a disappointment is actually your greatest blessing in disguise? Maybe that closed door was protecting you from something you couldn't see. Maybe that delay is making room for something better. Maybe what you think is an unanswered prayer is really a not yet instead of a no. If we could see the full picture, we wouldn't be so quick to give up. The key is to trust the process. Don't let time convince you that it's not going to happen. Just because it's been months or years doesn't mean your moment isn't coming. Your story is still being written. The chapter you're in right now is just one part of a bigger picture. The people who succeed, the people who see their dreams come to pass, are the ones who don't give up in the waiting season. They keep believing, they keep preparing, they keep expecting, even when it looks like nothing is happening. You have to hold on to the promise that what you're believing for is already in motion. It's already on the way. You may not see it yet, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. Just like that package in the mail, just like the seed in the ground, just like the ship that was on its way to rescue the stranded man, what you've been praying for is making its way to you. The only thing that can stop it is if you lose faith and give up too soon. So don't be discouraged by delays. Don't let waiting make you think it's not happening. What you've been believing for is still possible. It's still ahead of you. You just have to keep going, keep trusting, keep standing firm in faith. Because one day when you least expect it, you'll look up and you'll see the answer right in front of you. And you'll realize it was never a denial. It was just a matter of time. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't immediately see anything happening. You water it, you make sure it gets sunlight, you wait patiently, but for a while, there's no visible change. If you were to judge it by what you can see, you might think nothing is happening at all, but deep beneath the surface, that seed is beginning to take root. It's stretching out, finding the nutrients it needs, and slowly preparing to break through the soil. The fact that you can't see it growing doesn't mean it's not growing. The same is true in life. Every dream, every goal, every promise you're holding on to is like that seed. When you take a step towards something greater, when you believe in something bigger than yourself, you're planting a seed. And just like in nature, that seed requires time to grow. It doesn't happen overnight. There will be a season where nothing seems to be happening. You may wonder if your efforts are making a difference. You may question whether you're on the right path, but just because you don't see immediate results doesn't mean the process isn't working. There are times when we expect instant results. We live in a world that celebrates speed, fast food, fast internet, instant messaging. We've grown accustomed to getting what we want right away. But the most valuable things in life don't come instantly. They take time to develop. No great building is constructed in a day. No strong relationship is formed overnight. No lasting success happens without a process. Anything worth having requires patience and persistence. Think about an athlete training for a marathon. They don't wake up one morning and suddenly have the endurance to run 26 miles. They start with short runs, pushing themselves a little more each time. Their muscles adapt, their stamina increases, and over time they grow stronger. The progress isn't always noticeable at first, but with consistency, the results begin to show. If they judge their ability to finish the marathon based on their first few days of training, they might quit before they ever reach their potential. But because they understand that growth happens gradually, they keep pushing forward. That's how dreams work. You start with a vision, you put in the effort, you take small steps forward. But there will be a time when it seems like nothing is changing. This is where many people give up. They mistake the waiting period for failure. They assume that because they don't see progress, nothing is happening. But the truth is, every effort is adding up. Every small step is bringing them closer. Growth isn't always visible at first, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Consider the story of bamboo. When bamboo is planted, it spends years developing its root system before there's any sign of growth above ground. For the first few years, it looks as if nothing is happening. But during that time, the roots are spreading deep and wide, creating a strong foundation. Then, almost suddenly, the bamboo shoots up, growing several feet in just a matter of weeks. The visible growth happens quickly, but the preparation for that growth took years. Without the deep roots, the plant wouldn't be able to sustain its rapid rise. The same principle applies to your life. There are seasons where it feels like nothing is working. You're putting in the effort, you're staying committed, you're doing everything you can, but you're not seeing the result. It's tempting to get discouraged, but just like that bamboo, you're growing beneath the surface. You're developing resilience, learning patience, building character. And when the time is right, the growth will become visible. The results will show. The breakthrough will come. If you give up during the unseen growth phase, you'll never experience the full potential of what's possible. Too many people quit before their breakthrough. They walk away from their dream because it's taking longer than they expected. But just because you can't see movement doesn't mean it's not happening. What you've been working for is on the way. You just have to trust the process. There's a reason growth takes time. If everything happened instantly, we wouldn't be prepared to handle it. Imagine giving a child a responsibility meant for an adult. They wouldn't be able to handle it because they haven't developed the skills or maturity yet. The same is true for your dreams. The waiting season is preparing you. It's shaping you into the person who can handle the blessing when it arrives. The skills you develop, the lessons you learn, and the patience you build during this time are essential for sustaining the success that's coming. Think about someone who wins the lottery overnight. They go from having nothing to having millions. But studies show that most lottery winners end up losing it all within a few years. Why? Because they weren't prepared for that level of responsibility. They received the blessing, but they didn't have the foundation to sustain it. They never developed the discipline, the financial knowledge, or the habits necessary to manage it. That's why the process is so important. It's not just about the outcome. It's about who you become along the way. The waiting season is where you grow. It's where you build the strength to carry what's coming. Every challenge you face, every setback you endure, every lesson you learn is shaping you into the person who can handle what's ahead. So don't be discouraged if you don't see immediate results. Don't let the waiting period convince you to give up. What you're working toward is growing beneath the surface. The foundation is being built. The roots are spreading. And when the time is right, the results will show. Keep going. Keep believing. Keep nurturing the dream that's in your heart. Because one day, when you least expect it, you'll see the breakthrough. The growth will be undeniable. And you'll realize that everything you went through, every moment of waiting, every season of preparation was leading you to something greater. Just because you don't see it now doesn't mean it's not happening. It's only a matter of time. There are moments in life when what we are hoping for seems so far away. We pray, we believe, we do everything we can, but nothing seems to be changing. The situation stays the same. The opportunity doesn't come, and the breakthrough feels delayed. It's easy to wonder if it will ever happen. Doubt tries to creep in, whispering that maybe it's not meant to be. But during these times, the most important thing we can do is hold on to faith. Faith is what stands between where we are and the promise we are waiting for. It is the bridge that carries us from hoping to receiving. When things aren't happening as quickly as we want, faith keeps us believing. It reminds us that just because we don't see progress doesn't mean progress isn't happening. Faith is knowing that even though nothing looks different on the outside, something is shifting behind the scenes. Imagine a mountain climber standing at the base of a towering peak. The summit looks impossibly high. It would be easy to feel overwhelmed, to think, how am I ever going to make it to the top? But the climber doesn't focus on how far they have to go. Instead, they focus on taking one step at a time. Even when the climb is steep, even when progress is slow, they keep moving forward because they trust that every step is bringing them closer. That is how faith works. It doesn't require us to see the entire path. It just asks us to keep moving trusting that we are getting closer to where we need to be. One of the biggest challenges in life is holding on when nothing seems to be happening. It's easy to stay encouraged when we see signs of progress, when doors start opening, when opportunities begin appearing. But what about the times when everything is silent? When we pray and don't see an answer, when we work hard but don't see results. That's when faith is truly tested. Think about the story of a builder who is constructing a house. They lay the foundation first, carefully making sure it is strong and secure. To someone passing by, it may not look like much. In fact, for weeks or even months, it may seem like very little progress is being made, but the builder knows that the foundation is the most important part. Without it, the house will not stand. Once the foundation is complete, the rest of the house goes up quickly. That's exactly how faith works. Many times, what we are waiting for is taking longer than expected because the foundation is being built. We may not see anything happening yet, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. The structure is being prepared, the groundwork is being laid, and when the time is right, things will come together faster than we ever imagined. There's a story in history about an artist who spent years creating a masterpiece. Day after day, he worked tirelessly, making tiny, almost imperceptible adjustments to his painting. To the untrained eye, it seemed like nothing was changing. But what people didn't realize was that each brushstroke was intentional. Each detail was necessary to complete the vision. If he had rushed the process, if he had skipped over the small details, the final masterpiece would not have been as magnificent as it was. In the same way, the waiting season in our lives is not wasted. Every experience, every challenge, every lesson is adding to the masterpiece. Just because we don't see the full picture yet doesn't mean it's not being painted. Just because the promise hasn't come to pass yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. Too often, people give up right before their breakthrough. They get tired of waiting, they lose hope, and they decide it's not worth it anymore. But what if they are just one step away from everything falling into place? What if the promise is right around the corner? That's why faith is so important. It keeps us holding on even when there's no evidence to suggest we should. Imagine someone planting a tree. They put the seed in the ground, they water it every day, but for a long time nothing happens. No signs of growth, no changes in the soil. It would be easy to think, maybe this seed isn't going to grow. But just because they don't see anything above the ground doesn't mean something isn't happening below the surface. The roots are taking hold, the seed is breaking open, and at just the right moment, that little sprout will push through the soil. If they'd given up too soon, they would have missed out on seeing the tree grow. Faith works the same way. It keeps us going when there's no visible sign of change. It reminds us that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It gives us the strength to keep believing, to keep pushing forward, even when the wait feels long. The key is not to let discouragement take over. When thoughts of doubt try to creep in, we have to push them aside and remind ourselves that the promise is still coming. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it is on its way. Just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. The waiting season is just a preparation season. Think about how many times in life things worked out in ways we didn't expect. Maybe there was something we wanted so badly, but the timing wasn't right. Maybe we thought an opportunity was perfect, but later we saw that something better was coming. Looking back, we can often see that the delays were actually blessings in disguise. The same will be true for what you are waiting for now. The promise is still ahead. The dream is still alive. The opportunity is still coming. It's just a matter of time. The question is, will you keep believing while you wait? Will you hold on to faith even when nothing seems to be happening? If you can keep going, if you can keep believing, then one day you will see what you've been waiting for. The doors will open, the opportunity will come, and you will realize that everything was working together for your good all along. You weren't forgotten, you weren't overlooked, and you weren't denied. The delay was just preparing you for something greater. So don't give up. Don't lose heart. Keep believing, keep expecting, and keep standing in faith. because what you're waiting for is already in motion. It may not have arrived yet, but it's on the way. The moment is coming. The breakthrough is near. It's not a question of if, it's just a matter of time. Life has a way of testing our patience. We set goals, work hard, and do everything we can to move forward, but sometimes things don't happen on our schedule. The dream we've been working toward seems delayed. The promotion we've been expecting is taking longer than we thought. The breakthrough we've been praying for hasn't arrived yet. In these moments, it's easy to grow frustrated and wonder if it will ever happen. But what if the waiting period isn't a punishment? What if it's actually part of the process? Every great achievement in life requires preparation. The bigger the dream, the longer the preparation often takes. If you were building a small house, it might take a few months. But if you were constructing a skyscraper, the process would take years. The foundation would have to be deeper, the structure stronger, and the planning more detailed. The same is true for your life. If what you're waiting for is significant, it will require more preparation. It may take longer than you expected, but that doesn't mean it isn't coming. Think about a world-class chef preparing a gourmet meal. They don't rush through the process. They carefully select the ingredients, take their time with each step, and allow the flavors to develop. A microwave meal can be ready in minutes, but a 5-star meal requires time. The same is true for the best things in life. The things that come quickly are often temporary, but the things that last, the things that truly make an impact, take time. Sometimes we want something so badly that we try to rush the process. We think, I should have been there by now. I should have seen results already. But if we receive something before we are ready, we may not be able to handle it. There are countless stories of people who achieve success too soon, only to lose it just as quickly. Athletes who weren't prepared for the fame and fortune that came with their talent. Entrepreneurs who launched a business too early and couldn't sustain it. Relationships that happened too fast and ended just as quickly. When we rush into something before we're ready, we risk losing it, because we haven't developed the strength to sustain it. Imagine if a butterfly tried to emerge from its cocoon too soon. The process of transformation inside the cocoon is necessary. The struggle to break free strengthens its wings. If someone were to cut the cocoon open and release the butterfly early, it wouldn't survive because its wings wouldn't be strong enough. It needed that time in the cocoon to develop fully. The same is true for us. The waiting period isn't meant to frustrate us, it's meant to strengthen us. One of the hardest things to do is trust the timing of our lives. We see others moving ahead, achieving their dreams, stepping into their opportunities, and we wonder, why not me? Why is it taking so long for me? But just because someone else's journey is moving at a different pace doesn't mean yours is off track. You are exactly where you need to be. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means the timing isn't right yet. There are many examples of people who faced delays before their breakthrough. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job because they said he lacked creativity. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a worldwide phenomenon. Imagine if they had given up just because things weren't happening as quickly as they wanted. The delay wasn't a denial, it was preparation. It was shaping them into the people they needed to be to handle the success that was coming. We have to remind ourselves that just because something hasn't happened on our timeline doesn't mean it's not happening. There are things being aligned behind the scenes that we can't see. The right people, the right opportunities, the right circumstances. They are all being prepared. If we were to receive what we're waiting for right now, it might not be the best version of it. Maybe the company that's meant to hire you is still growing. Maybe the person you're meant to be with is still becoming who they need to be. Maybe the dream you have needs more time to mature so that when it does arrive, it's even better than you imagined. Think about how fruit ripens. If you pick it too early, it won't taste right. it will be bitter, hard, and not enjoyable. But if you wait for the right time, it will be sweet, full of flavor, and exactly as it should be. The same is true for your dreams. If they come too early, they may not be as fulfilling as they could be, but when they arrive at the right time, they will be everything you hoped for and more. The key is to stay patient and trust the process. When we stop trying to control the timeline and start believing that the right things will happen at the right time, we can find peace in the waiting. We can focus on growing, learning, and preparing for what's ahead. We can remind ourselves that every delay is making us stronger. Every challenge is building our resilience. Every moment of waiting is shaping us into the person who will be ready when the opportunity arrives. It's easy to grow frustrated in the waiting season, but instead of seeing it as a delay, see it as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to prepare, an opportunity to trust that what's meant for you will not pass you by. Your time is coming. Your moment is on the way. You may not see it yet, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. The right doors will open, the right people will show up, and the right opportunities will align. You just have to be patient and trust that when it all comes together, it will be better than you ever imagined. So don't let the waiting discourage you. Don't lose faith just because it's taking longer than expected. Keep believing, keep preparing, and keep trusting, because when the time is right, everything will fall into place. And when it does, you'll look back and realize it wasn't delayed. It wasn't denied. It was just a matter of time. Life is filled with moments of uncertainty. We step out in faith, pursue our dreams, and put in the effort, but sometimes the results don't come as quickly as we expect. We find ourselves waiting, wondering, questioning. During these times, it's easy to feel discouraged, to doubt whether things will ever change. But what we must remember is that just because we don't see anything happening doesn't mean things aren't in motion. So often, when we don't see immediate progress, we assume that nothing is working. But much like a seed planted in the ground, growth doesn't always happen where we can see it. Beneath the surface, the roots are forming, strengthening, and preparing to support what is about to emerge. If we were to judge the process by what's visible, we might believe the seed is never going to grow. But in reality, it is only a matter of time before we see the evidence of what has been developing all along. As there are moments in life when we feel stuck, like we're doing everything right, but nothing is changing. We put in the effort, stay consistent, and remain faithful, but still we don't see the breakthrough. These are the moments that test us the most. They challenge our patience, our faith, and our ability to trust the process. It's in these moments that we must remind ourselves that even when we don't see it, progress is happening. Think about an artist sculpting a masterpiece. At first, all they have is a rough block of stone. They chip away at it little by little, refining the shape. To an outsider, it may not seem like much is changing, but the artist sees what others don't. They know that every small adjustment is part of a bigger picture. If they stopped too soon, they would never see the masterpiece fully realized. But because they keep going, even when progress is slow, they eventually create something extraordinary. The same principle applies to our lives. Just because the changes aren't obvious doesn't mean they aren't happening. Every small step forward, every lesson learned, every challenge overcome is shaping us into the person we need to be. It may not be visible right now, but that doesn't mean it won't be revealed at the right time. We often get impatient in the waiting season because we expect immediate results. We live in a world that celebrates instant gratification. If we're hungry, we can order food in minutes. If we want information, we can find it with the click of a button. But the best things in life don't happen instantly. They require time, patience, and persistence. Think about the process of making a diamond. A diamond isn't formed overnight. It takes extreme pressure and heat over a long period of time to transform a piece of carbon into something precious. If you were to take that same carbon and try to rush the process, you wouldn't get a diamond. You would get something incomplete, something far less valuable. In the same way, our experiences, challenges, and waiting periods are shaping us into something greater. The pressure we feel, the struggles we face, the moments when we wonder if things will ever change, these are the very things that are refining us, making us stronger, and preparing us for what's ahead. If we were to rush the process, we wouldn't be ready for the full weight of what's coming. Sometimes we feel like we're falling behind, like others are getting ahead while we remain stuck in the same place. But just because someone else's path is moving at a different pace doesn't mean ours is off track. We each have a unique journey, and what's meant for us will come at the right time. If we focus too much on how fast others are moving, we risk missing what's happening in our own lives. Consider the story of a runner in a marathon. If they spend the entire race looking at the runners ahead of them, they may lose sight of their own pace. They may become discouraged, thinking they are too far behind. But if they stay focused on their own race, their own progress, they will reach the finish line in their own time. The goal isn't to compare, it's to keep moving forward. There are many examples of people who had to wait for their moment. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, didn't see success until he was in his 60s. Vera Wang didn't start designing dresses until she was 40. Morgan Freeman didn't get his big break until later in life. They could have given up, believing it was too late, but they kept going, kept believing, and eventually they saw the results. What if they had quit too soon? What if they had assumed that just because things weren't happening immediately, they weren't going to happen at all? They would have missed out on everything that was meant for them. The same is true for us. The waiting season is not a wasted season. Every moment of preparation, every small step, every unseen effort is adding up. There is a right time for everything. A right time for doors to open, a right time for opportunities to appear, a right time for the breakthrough to come. If it hasn't happened yet, that doesn't mean it won't. It just means the right moment hasn't arrived. It can be hard to trust when we don't see the evidence of change. But just because something isn't visible yet doesn't mean it isn't real. The most significant shifts often happen beneath the surface before they are ever seen. The most important work is often being done where we can't yet recognize it. That's why we can't afford to give up too soon. We can't let impatience rob us of what's coming. We must hold on, keep believing, and trust that every effort is leading somewhere. One day when we least expect it, we'll look up and realize that everything has changed. The door will open, the opportunity will arrive, and we'll see that it was all worth it. The key is to stay the course, to keep showing up, to keep believing even when it feels like nothing is happening, because progress isn't always obvious at first. But that doesn't mean it isn't happening. So don't get discouraged. Don't let impatience make you give up on what you know is meant for you. Stay the course, trust the process, and keep moving forward. Because whether you see it or not, things are shifting in your favor. The progress is happening. The pieces are coming together. And soon, everything will align. It's not a question of if, it's just a matter of time. Throughout life, we will all face moments of uncertainty, moments where the road ahead seems unclear, and moments where doubt begins to creep in. It is in these times that we may start to question whether the things we are hoping for will ever come to pass. We may feel as though we've waited too long, worked too hard, and sacrificed too much, only to be met with delay after delay. But what if the delay isn't a denial? What if, instead of being a setback, it is actually a setup for something even greater? One of the most important things we must learn is to trust that everything is aligning in our favor, even when we can't yet see the results. Just because we don't have the answer today doesn't mean the answer isn't coming. Just because we haven't seen the door open yet doesn't mean the opportunity isn't on the way. Every great thing in life requires faith, patience, and an understanding that the best is yet to come. Think about a farmer planting a field. They don't plant the seeds one day and expect to see a full harvest the next. They know that the process takes time. They know that after they plant the seeds, there will be a season where nothing appears to be happening on the surface. But just because they don't see anything right away doesn't mean the seeds aren't growing. Beneath the soil, things are shifting, roots are forming, and life is beginning to take shape. The farmer doesn't give up simply because they can't see the results yet. They trust the process, knowing that the harvest will come in due time. In the same way, we must trust that the things we are working toward are growing, even when we can't see them yet. There may be times when it feels like nothing is. As we come to the end of this message, I want to remind you that everything you are hoping for, working toward, and believing in is still possible. It may not have happened yet, but that doesn't mean it won't. The delay is not a denial. The waiting period is not a waste. Every challenge, every setback, and every moment of uncertainty is shaping you, preparing you, and positioning you for something greater. You may not see the progress right now, but trust that things are shifting in your favor. The right doors will open at the right time. The opportunities you've been waiting for will arrive when you are ready to receive them. The dreams that feel so far away will come to pass in ways greater than you ever imagined. Your story is still unfolding. The struggles you've faced, the patience you've had to develop, and the lessons you've learned along the way are all part of a bigger picture. One day you'll look back and see that every delay had a purpose. Every setback was leading to a setup, and every challenge was building the strength you needed for what's ahead. So don't give up. Don't grow weary. Don't let doubt take over. Stay faithful, stay patient, and keep believing. Because no matter what it looks like right now, no matter how long it's taking, and no matter how impossible it seems, it's just a matter of time.